Man, it's a Monday. I knew I forgot to do that. Man, there it is. It's a Monday. You can tell it's a Monday when something like that happens.
It's a cold open.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because it's pretty damn cold outside.
I know, really. Bases dropped. It's Monday. It's soccer down here. And Jarrett there, John here. And, obviously, until further notice, it's going to be, we're going to be talking about Atlanta United. We're going to be talking about the playoffs. We're going to be talking whatever's on your mind. And so it's open phones, open call America. Hello. But obviously today and for the next couple days.
Please just go full Casey Kasem with the whole entire thing.
Yes.
So-and-so writes.
Yes. Well, that might be on the Twitch pitch. And when folks start writing on the Twitch pitch, I may actually do that. Regular season's over. Decision day was yesterday. All of the matches in the Eastern Conference kicked off at 2:55, and then it was 5:18 for the Western Conference. For the Western Conference kicks, and we had chaos there, and especially trying to figure out who was going to make it and who wasn't going to make it. And it pretty much was as chaotic as we figured it was going to be, Jarrett. I mean, it was, who's in, who's out. And you look at Orlando and Columbus, and we saw what happened there with chaos leading itself to the 97th minute, and then folks staring at RSL in Portland. It was the chaos that we discussed. So once again, not necessarily a surprise, but we'll get into that, and we will get into everything else on your mind this morning. David, thank you. And David says it's good to see you on the Halo board yesterday. Now, that's David, I will say this. It was a blast to do, and to be able to do it with Beth Keener, who is a tremendous co-pilot and knows the lay of the land there at MBS and what to do. And it was fun to do that this season, and to be able to basically do a sports cast for anywhere from 2.5 to 4.5 minutes on a weekly basis, for every home match. It was fun, and to be able to be there and have another role with the 17s. And, shout out to all of you guys who showed up all year long. Once again, if I remember correctly, it's top in attendance for Major League Soccer once again for Atlanta United. So I take my hat off to all of y'all. It was just fun to do. And so believe it or not, guys, it'll be here a lot sooner than you think, because you got playoffs, you got World Cup, it's Christmas, then it's training camp, and then you're back at it in February. So this is going to go very, very quickly, and you're all going to be right back at it for 2023. It's just very, very weird to sit there and have things finished for you in mid-October instead of a month from now. But we can thank our friends at FIFA for that. So it'll be around. Soccer has not quit, and neither have we. And Sam, I mean, that's a fairly common assessment from a lot of folks about this season. There you go. But yep. I mean,
full Steve Spurrier, y'all.
Yep. And so
I didn't go as planned.
Mm-hmm. So that's where you are. But we'll get into Atlanta United. We'll get into what you guys want to say about Atlanta United going forward. If I'm not mistaken, Bart Keeler will join us tomorrow to discuss the match with the USWNT in Spain and anything else on Bart's mind, because I know that Bart will have plenty of things to say about Atlanta United. So it'll be a multi-dimensional conversation with Bart coming up tomorrow, if my memory serves. But I want to start off with the opening kickoff. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code, by the way. Just plastered it right there in the middle of the screen. Bart has promised that he is going to try to work on something where I can come up with a tombstone in the low corner, so it's not as obtrusive as it is right now in its current form.
Alex, nobody is dragging the head ball coach into this in a bad way.
No,
I cherish what Steve Spurrier has meant to that sport and meant to culture in the South, and to the Arby's outside of Huntsville, Alabama.
Yep. Yes, so nothing wrong with the OBC there at all. All right, so there's your QR code. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. You can go to Kickoff Coffee CO and follow them on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. See, this way I don't have to twist the banner as much anymore because the QR code is plastered right there on the screen. But once again, use the code soccer down here 15, and you get 15% off your purchase at Kickoff Coffee. And thank everyone who has been investing in Kickoff Coffee so far. And they, in turn, take 10% and they reinvest it in the youth game, which is something very, very cool that our friends at Kickoff Coffee are able to do. So, in honor of the opening kickoff, I wanted to talk about the twos and what happened.
All right.
Yeah. The twos still have, coming into this weekend, they had 2 games to go, and they're both out west. The Eastern Conference schedule's over, and so Atlanta United has 2 matches left. And one was against Los Dos, LA Galaxy 2. Next week, they will finish up their regular season in Phoenix at Wild Horse Pass against Phoenix Rising. And I know that we were all kind of keeping an eye on what was going on in football and Extreme Rules with the WWE. And so it was trying to juggle all of these different things. And if you missed it, late Saturday night, LA Galaxy 2 had a 1-0 lead until these moments happened with 15 to go. And here's your highlights, courtesy of our friends at the USL Championship, ESPN Plus, and YouTube. Joe Tatino on the call. Well, actually, you know what, Jared, I think I've just absolutely messed that up because you want to know why? I forgot to upload it.
Yeah, that'll do it. Okay.
Well,
cool. So as not to
yeah, go ahead and talk about it until
as not to belabor the point. We'll find the highlights. But Atlanta United 2 picking up a big road win. At a come from behind road win, Tristan Traeger only scores goals in bunches. He scored 2 goals. Then little Johnny Vial basically starts a counterattack, then plays a pass, then runs 70 yards, gets on the end of said next through ball, and puts the game away 3-1.
I found the highlights. I finally uploaded.
Okay. Go for it.
So
I'll get out of your way.
So here's your highlights. Let's see. I'll set this up one more time. Here's your highlights with Atlanta United 2 and LA Galaxy 2 from Dignity Health Sports Park. Joe Tatino on the call. Thanks to our friends at ESPN Plus, USL Championship, and YouTube.
Having said that, the reason why Atlanta's still in this match is Vicente Reyes, their goalkeeper. Another ball into the area. Backside it goes, and now we're tied at 1. Firmino in the 75th minute.
Of Traeger, who gets in. But how about this ball across? Nicely headed home by Tristan Traeger. Goal.
Firmino tries to usher this ball forward. Mateus on the left side. Raymar being closed by Lamb. He gets through him. Campbell can't find it. Here's Raymar in on goal. Plays it back post. 2-1 Atlanta. And Atlanta United 2 has taken a 2-1 lead here in the late moments against LA Galaxy 2.
Where it happens. Raymar stays with it. Campbell can't clear. He gets caught. And Raymar just simply squares it. And once again, great movement. The last chance saloon time. Hitting hope.
This ball into Campbell. Back post. A header by Cabral. Saved again by Reyes. And cleared to midfield.
Man of the match. Truly worthy winner tonight for Vicente Reyes, the Atlanta United 2 young goalkeeper.
This will come on back to midfield. Ahead it comes to Vial, might have a chance to make it 3-1. His shot on goal, score! And the icing on the cake. Having said that, the reason why Atlanta's still in this match.
And there you go. There's your highlights.
Their goalkeeper.
Courtesy of our friends. Maybe if I hit pause. That's why I forgot to hit the loop button too. I'm still learning this stuff, folks. Still learning the stuff. But there's your highlights. Down 1-0, win 3-1. And so Vicente Reyes was once again bordering insane.
Yeah, 10 saves. I think the XG on that game for Los Dos was like 5. It's pretty wild. It's pretty impressive, pretty wild. Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a tough year for them. I know we talked about the first team. It's been a tough year for the first team, but I mean, the second team gave up a lot of goals this year. They had a lot of rotating bodies all over the place. On the back line, in goal, and the defensive midfield. The guy who led the team in goals last year actually got called up to the first team because they didn't have enough bodies. So you had to find goals from different places. You found some through Tristan Traeger, who came in in the summer after his time with the Air Force Academy was done, and was really impressive. Jackson Conway found himself as the season went on. I think you saw growth in guys, and it was very cool to see from the kids able to go out and kind of just hang on for part of that game. And after hanging on for a while, able to make it to a situation where they could go out and get not just a draw, but then a win.
Mm-hmm.
Insanely impressed with what they've been doing, especially late in the season. I know the results haven't been there, but I do remind that they are teenagers, and it's tough. And it's if you've ever been on a team that isn't winning, it's tough enough when you're an adult to deal with it mentally, because it can just be so taxing. When you're a kid, it has to be even worse.
Yep. And going through, I mean, I would love to know the average age. And I know that we have in our game notes, traditionally, we have the average age of starting lineups. I'd like to know just how many times, and I'll probably look this up after the season's over next week when we talk about the match with Phoenix, just how many times the average age of the starting 11 for Atlanta United 2 was like over the age of, say, 21. My guess would be not a lot.
Yeah, the answer is not going to be very big, because it hasn't been. You're majority of the time you're running kids out there out of the academy, and it's always a tough act.
Yeah, it is a tough ask. And go for it, Jared. I think.
It's tough for those kids to handle it, both physically, mentally, emotionally. And I thought they did really well as the season went on, especially. I was really impressed with what they were able to put together. And yeah, some of those results were not good, and even some of the fight. There were games where Jack Collison wasn't happy with them.
Yeah,
and I thought they did a very good job as the season went on, though, of making it work. And this is a nice culmination, because I know it's if you look hard enough, you can find a reason to poo-poo just about anything.
yes.
And I know Los Dos is a second team, not a professional team like some of the other teams in USL. But damn, it was just really it's a good win. Like, that's the bottom line for me, is it's a good win, and it's something positive to hang your hat on with some of these guys going forward. Johnny Fortune, Vicente Reyes, you talked about, he has really come on in the second half of the season. Johnny Vial starting to get more traction. Alan Carlton saw the field again. Carlton's been one that I've really enjoyed watching this year grow and get more assertive in the way he plays. But overall, yeah, I don't know what the twos look like next year roster-wise. I know we have the whole thing with the twos where they're dropping down to MLS Next Pro. I don't know what that roster looks like. Some of these guys might be playing for spots either here or elsewhere next year, a la Philip Goodrum, who is lighting it up in Memphis.
Yeah.
So even if their future isn't here, they are making enough of a name for themselves that their future could be elsewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at Memphis 901, who had to come from behind against Red Bulls and get the win and try to keep pace with Luke City at the top of the East in USL Championship. It is, all right, let me see if I can remember everybody from Memphis 901. It is Philip Goodrum, Chris Allen, Kiss you do. Luis Fernando. Mojadama. Okay, that's 5. So
that's what you want, is if you're not going to stick here, you want these guys to be able to make a pro career somewhere, and good on them. I want to see how the twos finish everything off. I want to see what they look like next year. But, it was something in a season of just basura for the most part.
Yeah.
It was nice to have something positive to, pick up on at the end of it all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially after what happened yesterday with the first team, it was just nice to have something that wasn't, disappointing.
Yeah. And Emilio, to answer your question, Vicente Reyes is 6'4". And so that's what you have in a keeper in Vicente Reyes. Your stats for this particular match, if I can find them really quickly. Shots, 50 total. 29-21 for LA Galaxy 2. Shots on target, 11. 8 for Los Dos. 9-7 in corners. 15 of the 25 fouls went to LA. Possession, 51-49 LA. Passing accuracy, 86-84 to Los Angeles. But, you're starting the only sub not used was Nash Skoglund in this match.
Poor Nash.
Yeah.
Dude played his tail off last time out, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He was really good last time out.
And you're looking at your starting lineup was Bryce, Tony Tiente, Nelson Orji came in and gave you 30. Noah Cobb, Luke Brennan, Centeno came in to give you 30. Firmino, Johnny Fortune, Alan Carlton came in for a cup of coffee. Mateus, Highmar, Jackson Conway, Vial came in and gave you 30. And then Tristan Traeger, after scoring that second goal, was swapped out for Efren Morales. So that was your lineup for the twos. Excuse me. So that was what the lineup was. First comeback win on the road this season. Third brace on the year for Tristan Traeger. As you said, he only scores goals in bunches. Johnny Vial scores his first professional goal. Reyes 10 saves, tying the club single save record set by Vicente Reyes. So one more match to go for Atlanta United 2 this year, and it'll be out in Phoenix next
Hopefully
week.
they just won't, and hopefully next year they just won't be in a shooting gallery. That would be nice.
Yes.
I feel bad for Reyes and for Reyes and Garces and Nash, because they made a lot of saves this year. They're also in a shooting gallery a lot, and I don't want them to get PTSD out of this like Joe Bendick did in Orlando, because the man lived in a shooting gallery for multiple years. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, good win for them. Good way to finish things off.
Yep.
We have questions about the first team, and Jason had the most believable thing I've seen, which is one of Luis's shots hit somebody near him. Yeah, I believe that.
Yep.
Man.
No doubt. Yeah, we'll get into that here now. That's our opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And once again, thanks to our friends at Kickoff Coffee. There's your QR code for those of you watching on Twitch. Once again, Kickoff Coffee CO, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off of your purchase when it comes to Kickoff Coffee, and they in turn take 10% and invest it in the youth game at kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so get rid of the QR code and talk about decision day for Atlanta United. And Atlanta United loses to NYC. NYC loses Tavon Gray and Tallis Magno in the match, and it will be interesting to see how long they will be out.
That might have been a Pyrrhic victory if we've ever seen one. Good God.
Yeah, and Tallis Magno, when he came out, his elbow was massively padded. His arm was in a sling, and so I want to see what the injury update is on Tavon Gray and Tallis Magno heading into their playoff. We'll get into the playoff grid, obviously, as the week goes along. But, Jarrett, from 30,000 feet, what are some of your takeaways from yesterday?
Disappointment. I thought the second half was better, mostly because I didn't think it was going to get much worse than the first half. Here's where my disappointment lies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ultimately, if you'd won the last two games, you would have gotten into the playoffs, because 48 points was the threshold and you weren't going to get there because of your failings earlier in the season. Whatever. I wanted to see more of a fight out of them. I was disappointed, honestly, in the energy at times that they showed because, like I said last week, like this is a situation now where you have a bunch of guys who are potentially playing to either be here next year or to show someone somewhere else that you belong as a part of their project, if not Atlanta's project going forward. And I was really disappointed, honestly, with, it felt like at times, like it just, the fire wasn't there. And I get it. It's tough to get up for a match that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When you're playing out the string, it's tough, but I was disappointed with that, honestly. I think I expected more. Maybe I'm naive for expecting more. Man, I don't know. But I did expect more than that in terms of the fight that they were going to show.
Mm-hmm.
It's, like I said, it got better as the game, I think, went on. But yeah, like that's for me, I think, is disappointment in that I know the result didn't matter. It wasn't going to matter one way or another. You weren't going to like get in on technicality. You weren't going to have 8 results go your way and parlay your way into the playoffs and you're playing out the string. I hoped to see more urgency and to put on a show. And like I said, I think as the game went on late in the game, they created some, and they were dangerous a couple times, but I was disappointed in it because I thought for a bunch of guys who are either, who we don't know contract situations fully,
Right.
but who might be out of contract coming up on option years, whether or not they need to be re-signed, whether or not they're trying to make a name for themselves elsewhere. I was hoping to see, more and to see a more, I guess, fun time. But again, I don't know. Am I being too hard? Am I being too harsh? Am I being naive? I don't know. That's what I hoped for in that situation, while also understanding that, yeah, it's tough to get up because we literally just had this talk about the twos. It's tough when you're literally losing all the time. And it's tough when you've had those expectations put upon you because you came into Atlanta United and you knew that part of this project is you're competing for trophies. That's the goal. And when you're not, it's disappointing. And you got to find a way to kind of just barrel through that. Don't know how you do that. This offseason will be interesting, but for me yesterday, it was just, I guess I was hoping to see a little more fire, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's also hard to quantify sometimes.
True.
It's because saying somebody isn't playing hard is hard to quantify sometimes.
Yes.
But I think I was hoping to see a bit more fire.
Yeah. All of it. And you're not the only one. We've had folks in the timeline say that same kind of a thing this morning. Starting at the top of the order, Shiva, even in the last game, still confused what the offense wants to do. Not many runs off the ball. The counter looks slow. So after 34 games, I'm still wondering.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a weird time for everybody because now you have, potentially now you have new president coming in. Well, not even potentially. You have a new president coming in.
Yep.
You don't know what all this is going to look like going into next year.
Yeah.
So I'll be very interested to see how it looks. Who's a part of it? How does the offseason look? How does everybody perform?
Yeah.
I have many questions.
Yeah. And one of them came from Amelia. What did we think of Marcelino Moreno on the pitch yesterday? And
Marcy was. I thought he had a couple combinations that were good. It's just I don't know. Like Marcelino Moreno is another one of those that, dude. I don't know what Marcelino Moreno's future holds here because I like Marcelino as a player. I don't think he's part of this project going forward. If you want me to keep belaboring that kind of description of it all, or the organization going forward. But I think he's a guy you might move around within the league because I think other teams could use him. But I don't think he fits with this as long as Thiago Almada is here, which God, I hope is another year.
I think so.
Unless somebody voodoo curses the Argentine national team and gets called up into the World Cup, I don't think they coexist together with the way that they've been playing. And yeah, you had a couple moments there where it was we had a couple combinations where it's fun, but yeah, I don't think Marcelino Moreno is part of it going forward. Like I said, I think he's a good player, and I think he fits in other places. It's not here, and not right now. Not with Thiago Almada doing Thiago Almada things. And right now, that's your trump card because, good God.
Mm-hmm. David C. Don't question talent as much as mismatched pieces. Moreno's a dribbler like Barco, but as games get late, turns the ball over more. Luis needs shooting therapy, but working pace is there. The games they look the best are when they don't fall behind, fix the defense. Alan Franco was the third choice that window, get a consistent 6, or play Hasetu and Sadic as deep-lying 8s. So that's what David is looking at from 30,000 feet this morning.
Yeah, and I mean, so the one I'll give credit, and I'll give credit to Luis after the game.
No doubt.
Dude stood up there and answered questions at his locker. And so here's the thing: not every country has open locker rooms. A couple players come in here and kind of been surprised that the United States has open locker rooms. I was honestly kind of surprised they reopened them after COVID. I don't know if that's part of the CBA that the locker room has to be open.
Well, but we also have to wear masks going into the locker room.
Yeah, but I mean, it's tough because if you're coming from a country where all it is mix zones, like you can get changed in the locker room. That's your private area, and that is your sanctuary away from the media. And all of a sudden, you're coming to a place where the locker room is open. I'm sure it's jarring for players that the sanctity of the locker room doesn't exist the same way here that it might where they're originally from. But I give Luis a lot of credit because he had a disappointing year by his standards or by really any standards. And I think he was so far inside his own head at times that even if you had given him golden opportunities, it wasn't gonna fly.
Yeah.
But I give him credit for standing up there and answering questions because it had to be tough. It'd have been really easy. You just watched two of the bigger names on the team decline to answer questions, which is fine. But I give him credit for standing up there and talking about it because and for some guys that's probably therapeutic to talk it out. But I do give him credit for talking about it. If he is here next year, I'm very interested to see if he's able to rebound on it because I thought he showed you flashes in 21 that could be a really good player. But he hasn't been this year, and he's had those moments where I think he presses really hard trying to make stuff happen. Mm-hmm. When I've said before, I don't need you to be a world beater. I just need you to be good.
Yep.
Like, find that middle line, man. And he never did. But yeah, I give him credit for standing up there and and speaking his mind about it and talking about building it back up. And one thing he talked about, I think will be interesting, is he talked about being on a team in France that had a tough year. That was a lot of young players. They brought in some veterans, stabilized things, and went on to have some really good times. And I wonder if that's where this build goes. Is you're bringing in some veterans going forward. And I don't know who that would be, how you go about doing it. I don't know who fits that build with it, maybe within the league. But yeah, especially if all this talk about expanding out MLS money actually does happen. Whew, yeah, let's get weird, y'all. Because let's see if they open the banks up, not just here, but if LAFC can build off of what they have built, which is coming off of an injury-riddled, disappointing season. They loaded the hell up and won a shield. Sorry, Rich. Yeah. You got second place. You're fine.
Yes.
Philly got back on the wagon. They'll be fine. We'll go over our MLS picks as like our MLS playoff dissection as you get closer to it because the playoffs are going to be stupid. I'm so excited for them.
Yes. Luis yesterday, post-match, said he didn't think it was a good season, suffered a lot of injuries, but no, they have a lot to work on. This is from Tyler Pilgrim, who was in the locker room. Luis said it was his first full season. He can continue to get better and will commit to keep working. Emphatically said yes, he wants to return to Atlanta United. And he said that they've got a great squad. Maybe need a few more experienced players like Brad. Said the same thing happened in France, Jarrett, to the point that you recollected when they had a young squad, added experience, did big things. Said the team is together, united, ready for next season. Said the team understands what the coaches want. So, I give Luis Araujo complete and total credit for being a stand-up guy in a very difficult situation, standing there in the locker room.
Yeah, and I'll say that, like, I want to clarify that, like, if he hadn't stood up there, it doesn't mean he's not a good human being. This is not like a black and white thing of you're good if you talk or you're bad if you don't talk. Just because someone doesn't want to talk doesn't make them a bad person. I want to clarify that. Like, the other side of that coin is not, it's not a black and white coin. But I know for him it had to be tough because, yeah, he had a disappointing season. And I think he has a ton of talent. It's just a matter of getting it put together. And if he's here next year, I want to see if he's able to put it together. Mm-hmm. I'm very interested to see in that because, like I said, I think he showed you flashes in 21 that he can be such a fun player. We'll see. Yep. That is one of many questions I have for the next calendar year for this organization.
Yes.
For the next few months.
Yeah.
And this doesn't even get into the fact that everyone's going to forget all of this exists for a bit and they can go hate watch the U.S. national team in the World Cup because everyone's already decided that they're going to get swept out of their group.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Touch some grass, y'all. I swear to God.
Uh-huh.
England and Wales can't get out of their own way, but it's okay. They'll figure it out. What about the U.S.? Oh, no.
No. They're done. They're cooked. It's over.
Touch some grass, y'all. I swear to God. Please.
Pacine, you know who makes great runs behind? Friggin' Gutman. When he ends up centrally, continually spends the energy to make a slashing run instead of being static. Andrew Gutman was a fun watch, especially when he and Caleb Wiley were on the left-hand side. And
when you were emulating the Scottish national team, yes, it was great. Because you were able to shore up the defense some. With Andrew Gutman playing left center back. You got them both on the field, and you got them to both absolutely Leroy Jenkins through the left side of the field. It was amazing. I give Gonzalo Pineda a lot of credit for making that work. Because at that point, you're like, I got to keep Andrew Gutman on the field, and Caleb Wiley's been really dangerous getting forward. How do I get them both on the field and shore up the defense? I know. We'll just do that. It's a good move in the moment.
Yeah.
And it really helped you for a while. Could have been a lot of fun, especially go back to the Philadelphia game in Philadelphia. If Rocco Rios Novo does not completely implode, could have been a fun one.
Yep.
Philadelphia.
Yes, Knicks was so wild seeing Gutman make that goal-scoring run instead of Joseph, but he did that all season. I mean, when you had that integration on the left-hand side, you got to see Andrew Gutman as a left center back striker. Jerry, is that accurate?
I mean, so that when they're both on the field together, I mean, it's Wiley getting forward and it's Gutman getting forward. It's overloading that left-hand side. And then they're able to make runs off of it, underlapping and overlapping. I mean, you get to the goal yesterday on the underlap. Dude, credit to Luis, by the way. Luis put in a great ball, gets the hockey assist, because then Almada just, I don't know, the dude has the force or something. I don't know. But he knows exactly where Gutman's going to be and just kind of puts it right in the spot, and Gutman slams it home. That was nice to see. Damn shame you're already down 2-0 at the moment.
Yeah. Knicks is calling for 9 more Gutmans, by the way.
If you can find them, great. Rich, are we gonna be okay with the Braves Philly series? Like, are we cool? Because look, I adopted long ago when back in 2009 when I met Mike Conti for the first time, and he was working at GST in news. I was doing overnight traffic for GST. This is coming off of Philadelphia winning the World Series. Mike was the most chilled Phillies fan I've ever met in my life, and he basically had this philosophy, and it impacted how I viewed sports as I got older. Of like, hey, a title really takes the edge off. You can want more, and it's okay. It's nothing wrong with wanting more and wanting a ton of trophies, but it's okay if one title just like takes the edge off of you if you've been waiting for so long.
Yep.
And because that's where I was with the Braves for so long. And honestly, after this last title, I'm like, hey man, you know what? If they get another one, that'd be really cool. Because Atlanta hitting villain status would be the best scenario for me. I would laugh my ass off. If they don't, whatever. I don't care. The Mets are out, so I get to laughing either way. Nobody really loses in this scenario.
And never get blooper on your bad side on Twitter.
Yes. Man, I think it's a 5-game series. You don't have to worry about that for the Philly series. As for you, Rich, yes, I'm Philadelphia. After a couple of really questionable games, Philadelphia got back on the wagon in good form. They're going to be an interesting out. The playoffs are going to be really interesting to watch. I'm looking forward to them.
Yes.
They will be incredibly dumb, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it all ends. And God, who's there at the end? Is LAFC able to get it over the hump this time? After another supporter shield and a really damn good season, can Philadelphia make it work? Red Bulls are back in it. By the way, if Red Bulls wins their game against Cincinnati, which might be an abomination of a game,
Yes.
the greater abomination is going to be Philadelphia and Red Bulls 2.0, just like last year in the playoffs. And I guess this is just going to be another moment where everyone just pretends like this is fun to watch again, and then everyone plays the, oh my God, this is terrible.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to forget about the fact that it's terrible when these teams play each other, because my God, the playoff game last year made my eyes bleed.
Mm-hmm.
Do it again. I'm kind of in sickos mode about this one.
Yes. Byrne, going back to opening kickoff, when he said to Tino, say the reason Atlanta United 2 is still in this match is the goalkeeper. Byrne says this statement applied to every single 2's game this season.
Man, I feel bad. Like I said, I feel bad for Nash, Skoglund, for Vicente Reyes, who still doesn't know what a stretch Armstrong is, probably. God bless him.
Yes.
And for Justin Garces, because, dude, those dudes had some great games, made some great saves. They were also in basically Stalingrad for parts of the season. And yes, David, I'm fine. Like, the Guardians are my second choice AL team. My first choice AL team being the Mariners. So that's where I'm at with it.
So you're just looking for Soto Mojo, considering it hasn't been around for 2 decades.
I am very. I have friends who are Mariners fans and former coworkers who are Mariners fans. And I'm very excited for Seattle because, man, the last few decades have just been hot garbage for Seattle. Like, last time they were good was 2000. Last time they made the playoffs was 2001 when they won, an obscene amount of games. I hope they do well. I'm fine with the Guardians doing well as well. Cleveland deserves good things in sports because they're never kidding them otherwise.
Right. Let's see. Rich Ransom, we don't notice Red Bull and Union are playing bad. We just think someone is going to blow it.
Man.
The staring contest.
So here's the thing about that game. It's good. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, the playoff game last year just came down to a classic hey, we got a center back in Philadelphia who can kick the ball 85 yards on a dime. All right, let's let him take a 30-yard shot and just put us all out of our misery. I'm pretty sure that's how that one went down.
Yeah. Do not leave Jacob Glesnes alone.
Yeah, that was Glesnes just – Glesnes did everyone a solid, man, because Glesnes made sure we didn't have to watch that for, another 2 hours, another 30 minutes. So thanks, Jacob. If you can do it again, I'm fine with that, man.
Shiva with a point. Shiva feels that Montreal might take it all this year.
Montreal is a really
that's a good shout.
Interesting team, and so how does this fit? Montreal is how far down the ladder do you go as a fan where you're like, hey, I think Montreal could be that team? How far down the ladder does that go where you're like, Montreal might be that team where they go from being the trendy pick of hey, that's an underdog. You can only be an underdog for so long. You get enough people on your back, you're no longer an underdog.
Mm-hmm.
Montreal might be crossing that Rubicon. And I'm okay with that. I'm happy for Montreal.
Underdog as a 2 seed.
Yeah. And that's the thing is are we talking enough about Montreal? We damn well better be. They were great all year.
Mm-hmm. And when I got into the discussion with Nico Moreno last week, Nico was like, Wilfred Nancy is his number 1 for Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that as a shout because, good God.
Yeah, Neville and Nancy were the 2 that we were talking about. Yeah, Rich is more worried if the Union play Cincy.
Okay.
You're staring at yourself in the mirror at that point.
Yeah, and since he did slap them around a little bit early in the season, that was funny. It's just funny. Sorry, Rich. It's funny when it's funny to me when Philadelphia gets a taste of their own medicine in such a violent manner. I'm always entertained by it. Yeah, the playoffs will be weird though, because now you're also staring at a situation. You might get Cali. You might get El Tráfico, not Cali Clasico. You might get El Tráfico.
Yeah.
To decide. To decide the semifinal for the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be really dumb. It could be
Mm.
wonderful. I look forward to this.
Yes.
I'm excited. I like this plan. I'm excited about this plan.
Yes. With Atlanta United, Shiva, the NYC attack in the first half was what I've been wanting Atlanta to do. Still didn't see it. And then Five Stripe Dog says, pay the GOAT man. Move him to midfield.
I mean, yeah, keep him here as long as you can.
Mm-hmm.
I legit wondered at one point, I was like, is somebody going to come calling for Andrew Gutman?
Yes.
Because dude can play.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Celtic. Also, I think part of that was Gutman didn't have the proper passport to play over there. But
proper paperwork, yes.
Yeah. Thanks again, Celtic.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks again, low-key thanks to the Chicago Fire for being very bad as an academy at the time. Because you were so bad as an academy at the time, and as an organization, Gutman was like, I don't want a homegrown deal. I'd rather just go sign with somebody else. So thanks again.
Yes. Rack, I think, has probably come up with the proper terminology.
What would that be?
Goatman is the first ever wingback / striker combo. So he's calling him a strike back, or I would call him maybe a strike backer.
Yeah, I mean, call it. Yeah, I don't care. Whatever it is, it works, man.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it works. And that's all I care about.
Yes. I'll take a strike backer. That'll work. Let's see. Shiva on the match yesterday. Almada too static. Marcy Trident was no good. Luis was meh. Overall poor. That was once again. I think that you've got to give credit to the defense of NYC, and Atlanta wasn't able to get anything accomplished down the right-hand side, and that's traditionally where we see Luis do his work so he can come on and get to his favored left foot. They shut down the right-hand side, so you saw a lot of activity down the left-hand side with Almada, who was definitely spot shadowed by them, and then Mosqueda, who got the start yesterday. So we got to see Mosqueda from minute number 1 work his way forward too.
Yeah, Mosqueda was an interesting one. I'm a fan of his. I don't know what his future is going to be in terms of starting right now, but as a depth piece, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Guy coming off the bench, yeah, he can be that and maybe grows into it. So we'll see. I was glad to see he got the start just to see what he had.
Mm-hmm. Burned about the twos. He says it was a horrendous roster build for the twos. It's not how you want to construct a team where your high potentials are introduced to professional soccer. Winning has to be part of a club's culture. The rest is just excuses. Should have supplemented the team with some experienced pros like in earlier seasons.
Yeah. There have been, it was an interesting build for sure because, there were times where you brought in some guys up from the first team. I think Robbie Mertz was supposed to be that guy for a lot of it. That guy who was the veteran.
Yeah.
And then Robbie, gets traded again. And I don't know really what the end solution is there. Because I think he was supposed to help keep that team going. And when he's gone, then it falls on Johnny Fortune, who is a homegrown.
And who grew into the role of wearing the captain's armband, no question.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't know. I'm very interested to see what they look like going into USL Pro.
Mm-hmm.
MLS Next Pro.
Yeah, I am too. And I think it'll be this past weekend you saw Crew 2 knock off St. Louis City SC. I guess I should say
Yeah.
St. Louis City SC for the championship in MLS Next Pro. And a couple of ties for this particular footprint. You had Coleman Gannon and Marco Micheletto from
Rex Shakiri asked an interesting question. Okay, you want Alonso back? That'd be cool with that if Alonso wants to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off of a blown knee, I don't know what he's going to be able to offer you.
Yeah.
It's a very fair question to ask. Does he have it still in him?
Right.
I think that's a very, very fair question.
And I'm not anticipating him being ready, much like Miles or Brad, from the beginning anyway. I think that you're going to have
you're asking a lot of load management for him.
Yeah, and I think that initially Ozzie Alonso was not supposed to be your starter, but because of the injuries to Santi Sosa, you had Alonso start. You were 3-1-1 in your first 5. Then he goes down with an injury, and then you're having to figure out what you're going to do in the midfield. But no, I don't anticipate having a 100% Ozzie, a 100% Brad, or a 100% Miles when the season starts. But to have the 3 of them available and the load management that you were anticipating with Ozzie to begin with, where he comes in, gives you 20, gives you 30, he closes the match out. That's what I'm anticipating from Ozzie Alonso next year when he's around to do it.
Yeah, this will be very interesting. And Shiva asked about, discussing roster going forward into next year. Man, I don't know.
There are questions.
There's a lot of questions about this midfield, especially center back. I thought Alan Franco did well as the season went along.
Mm-hmm.
I was impressed with what he was able to give you. Juanjo Peralta felt like that guy.
Yeah.
Who could really stick long term. Not perfect by any stretch, but partner him with a guy like Miles, and I feel like he could do a lot of damage to a lot of teams. And we talked in the midfield last week, and we'll build on this. We'll talk about it more as the offseason goes on. But Hasetsu and Hyman, I feel like are the elephants in the room about who fits.
Yeah.
Who fits going forward. Because I don't know the answer to that. I will be very interested to see what the answers to that. But Marcedich, I think we all want to keep him around
because he is cap friendly and he has fit in very well.
Yes, but where else do you find improvements in those positions, and how much does the potential budget pick up?
Mm-hmm.
How much does that help? We'll see.
Yeah.
If the league expands what you can spend, I think that impacts us a lot.
Yeah. And there's talk of that too.
Yeah, Hyman and Hasetsu are 2 of my big questions there for sure. I think Luis is, if I had to put money on it, I'd say Luis is here next year, Luis Araujo.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't put a ton of money on it, but I would put a little money on it. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of questions about who's part of it, who's not. Also, I'm sure we will have our half-day trade window extravaganza.
Oh, no question.
Once again.
Yes.
And that will be interesting after MLS Cup to see if any moves get made, if they're able to try and find or, give up value or do what they can do. We'll see what the offseason looks like, and we'll see what happens on the president front, because, again, that's going to be a big part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you do without a president in place in terms of the big moves.
Right.
Yeah. If you expand, let's say Marcelino Moreno is another guy. I don't think it's here next year.
Right.
If that's the case, that frees up a very big chunk of TAM.
Mm-hmm.
If Alan Franco's not here next year, that frees up a very big chunk of TAM.
Mm-hmm.
If some, God forbid, Thiago Almada gets sold, I want him another year.
Yeah.
Being very selfish.
I think you get him for another year at least, unless you get an offer in the mid window that is too good to be true.
Yeah, I'd need stupid money from Europe before I'm doing that. You could have a designated player spot potentially come free, and if they add one, what if it's 1 or 2 designated player spots come free?
Yep.
You're waiting for the president to make the move at that point, and I think other teams around the league have shown you don't have to make your moves in December and January and February. You can you can go into into March. Well, we've seen teams hold on to those spots into the summer and bring guys in. We saw Orlando use it with the U22 slot and bring in a guy who got them to the playoffs. We saw Cucho Hernandez come in the summer. So I don't know that you intentionally keep it that long, but if you're looking for something, then maybe you wait and see. We'll see.
Yep. So we definitely will. And you turn into a pumpkin, right?
Yep.
All right. So we'll see.
And I think Conway will move up. Is he finally ready? And I don't know.
That'll be a training camp question, I think.
Yeah, and by the way, Barco's contract, I don't know what the status is on that either. I think that was a multi-year loan, though, so I think he might be still down there for another year.
Yeah.
You also have Eric Lopez as part of that, who's down at Bonfield. With Conway, I don't know. I still think Conway in Scotland would be a lot of fun because I think he's got the right combination of skill set to do really well there. Also, because he's from Leeds, he has the passport for it.
And
I don't know.
Coming over in a month.
I mean, we'll see. Aberdeen also has Christian Ramirez still sitting in soccer jail.
True. Absolutely.
Christian Ramirez locked almost 20 goals last year in Scotland because he couldn't get time in Houston.
Yeah, that is true.
I wonder if they'll bring him over here or if he'll be over here. We'll see. I don't know.
Ramirez over here to Atlanta, and you have him kind of show up for the Aberdeen camp. I don't know,
man. Just
thinking.
Just put Jackson Conway in a different kit and send him back over with Aberdeen. And I really like Jackson Conway a lot. I think he's grown a lot as a player this year. I think, if you're going to go, if you don't have Joseph next year and you free up a DP spot, you are going to swing for the fences on that spot.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be hard for him to get minutes.
Yep.
I don't know that Ronaldo Cisneros is part of this next year because he was on loan.
Don't know.
And I don't know that Dom Dwyer is part of this next year because his family his children live in LA now. And he might want to be closer to home.
Yeah.
And maybe that means he goes and plays for one of the LA teams or San Jose or something so he can be closer to home.
Right.
Maybe Conway is that too next year. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah. See, that's all that's why we have the off season to talk about it. I don't want you to get into any trouble, sir. So we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Bye.
Bye. Jared Smith, everybody. And since it is that particular time, and now that I've officially turned off the loop music, we'll get the music down to an acceptable level here since we're now at the top of the hour, and it means one thing. It's time for the promo. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's a Lemonize service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. The Lemonize service deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use a Lemonize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. The turnkey process makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, we like that these days. Offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or any other masking agents that you have either under your sink or above you in the cupboard, because when you reach under the sink or above you in the cupboard, you bring out that particular masking agent and it spray it in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent, because masks the odor. It doesn't attack the issue all the way down to the molecule like a Lemonize does with their proven scientific formula. Pricing, very, very easy, one of two ways, either by cubic feet or parts per million to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. For more information, frequently asked questions frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, and it is a Lemonize service. And how do you do it? You go to the website. And so, of course, naturally, I don't have my pen with me this morning. Actually, I do have a pen. There we go. So here's your homework assignment. ELIMINIZ.com/Atlanta, Lemonize.com/Atlanta, adding the /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from so that they can help you with your issues. Lemonize.com, the Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH at Lemonize.com/Atlanta. Fading the music. Hopefully it's not too rough of a fade. And now we're into hour number 2 here at SDH. So it's you and me, and we'll go over everything to view, and we'll go over gossip and rumors and everything on your minds as well in the timeline. So once again, you got anything on your mind? And once again, this is anything on your mind going forward, because we're going to be here. We're not going anywhere. As many mornings as we can at 9:05. We'll go for at least an hour, because during football season, Thursday's a power hour. Let's see, mapping out the rest of the week for you. Obviously, probably have a Tuesday review out later today, so we can go over what happened in the match against Los Dos on the weekend. So that'll be up on the network tomorrow. You have your USL programming along with Prem and Proper. We are efforting guests this week as we head toward the MLS playoffs. Wednesday, we'll have Dylan Butler in his traditional 10 a.m. slot. Probably Friday is when we will catch up with Nico Moreno, because Thursday for me is jam-packed with one of the other versions of me. Then what you would get there for me on Thursdays, you get your power hour, but then I leave, then do the high school programming at noon, race to West Forsyth High School for our flag football premiere. So we're going to have flag football on all of the other streaming platforms at GPB on Thursday evening, and then back to normal on Friday, probably 9:05 start, where we get into all of the matchups on the weekend with the patent pending trademark coming weekend whip around, and then our visit from Beyond Goals at 9:30, and then finishing up on getting ready for the weekend at 10 o'clock. So very, very busy week as always here at SDH, and everything will work its way through. Quick note from Fabrizio Romano this morning. Gabriel Slonina flying to London on Wednesday to join Chelsea for the next 2 weeks after that, as the MLS regular season is over. Then after that, Slonina comes back to the USA for the US M&T camp, courtesy of CJ Smith on Twitter. So that's news from Gabriel Slonina this morning. Also on the board, note from Tom Bogert: for the 14 MLS teams that didn't make the playoffs, announcements on contract decisions could come as early as today. Playoffs are about to start, but offseason officially is underway for the other half of the league, and that's why we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, and we'll continue to talk about it. Like I said, we ain't going anywhere, so we'll keep talking about everything going on in the league with guests in the other lower divisions as well. And so, this weekend will be in Statesboro for the regular season finale. Get my first look at Tormenta Stadium. And Tormenta's taking on Chattanooga Red Wolves, trying to find a home match in the playoffs. So we'll keep an eye on all of that with the USL. So very, very busy week here at SDH, and we'll continue to roll forward. All right, so in the timeline on the Twitch pitch, and once again, everybody, thanks for letting us know what you think with everything going on with Atlanta United. Also, and I know that a lot of folks are talking about Luis and his work. And Rack, I did get your reference. Yep, exactly. So Rack says, I have to post this because I understand it. Rack, Luis is a case of the yips that would make the Sesame Street Martians blush. I got that reference. Shows you how old I am. Also on the board, let's see. Rack, seriously love how much hustle Luis puts in on getting back on defense, but can we get him a clinic in the offseason for shots like for real? And I know that same talk was with Miggy back in 17 and 18, and so we went through it with Luis this year too. Alex, I don't understand how a professional player can so consistently blast it into row Z. Like you'd think there'd be some fairly even distribution of misses. Maybe it's just perception. The numbers are more balanced, but to the eye, and I mean, it's just about leaning back, and when you lean back, everything has a tendency to take off anyway when you have your shots. So, I mean, I know that perception is there, but I mean, he had two that did not go into row Z that Sean Johnson had to get on top of yesterday as well. Nix Gutman's how to score an MLS clinic is incoming from the strike backer position, no doubt about it. But, Rack, Miggy and Pitti went through similar stretches. Aruju's almost seems worse, and I think that probably has to do with the results on the field. I think that if you're winning, you're not necessarily paying as much attention to where the shots end up, and you sit there and go, oh, yeah, okay, so he launched it in a row Z, and there it goes. But, no, I think the record probably had a lot to do with it too. All right. let's see. Let's see. Mr. Matrix, consistently been disappointed by the lack of energy this team has come out with. They've even looked flat early in some of the must-win games. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it did look like, Mr. Matrix, that it took a while for the engine to turn over, and when in must-win situations, you can't have that. And everybody talked about it. We talked about it. Team talked about it. Coach talked about it. Yeah, you can't have that. And it is that. I think it's just one of those mental things that you got to turn the key in the ignition. And there were a lot of times when they, for whatever reason, it took them a while. Maybe they need. It's like sometimes an athlete needs to be challenged before they get engaged into whatever they're doing. So it's like, yeah, you get a goal down. Oh, okay, all right, now let's go. Sometimes you saw that. So yeah, I mean that was there, Mr. Matrix, no doubt about it. Yeah, and Emilio, to your point about Marcy, yeah, and then Jarrett was right on, and I'll just go ahead and circle back with it real quick. I know that he was frustrated with the lack of activity and the lack of starts and everything, but you're trying to go out there with the best 11 that you think will be available to you to win a match. And if you have a creator that like Marcelino Moreno is, and he's a tremendous individual with the ball at his feet, sometimes you need other individuals with their skill sets and not what Marcelino Moreno can bring to the table. Then you bring Marcy in late to try to have him create because you're a goal down, and that makes sense in that regard. So, yeah, obviously, he's disappointed about it. He's a very quiet guy anyway, and I think that Jarrett's spot on. That he will be another one of these individuals that we look at in the offseason and see, is his future here? Is his future someplace else? And what is his future, and how do you lay it all out there? So, Marcy will definitely be one that you're looking at going forward. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, Rack, there it is. I feel like they put in effort after they've dug themselves a hole week after week. It's really rough, no doubt. All right, so David, I don't question talent as much as mismatched pieces. Moreno's a dribbler like Barco, but as games get late, he turns the ball over more. And I think that that's because he's trying to create. And once again, we talk about trying to force the issue and those kinds of things. So I think that's where that comes from. Luis needs shooting therapy, but working paces there. The games they look the best is when they don't fall behind. Yeah, fix the D. Franco was third choice in the window. Get a consistent six-play Hosechu and Sadic as deep-lying eights. I really liked what we saw out of Amar Sadic this year. And you're going to need guys like Amar Sadic who are cap-friendly and who also get your system. So that's really what you're looking at for those roster finds. In addition to the guys that are coming up from your second teams and from your academies, the younger guys like a Noah Cobb, who I anticipate is going to get a fair run at being a part of the first team roster next year. You look at you want to see what a guy like a Johnny Fortune can do next year. You look at what we've seen from Traeger and from Conway, and Darwin Mateus, David Mejia is another one that I'm going to be interested in when it comes to training camp. I want to see a lot of the guys that we saw and see how that next year of integrating will work. And so I think that's going to be an interesting element in all of this. Let's see. Shiva, first time I'll say I felt the players really didn't want to play yesterday. Never felt it all year, but yesterday. It's like Jared said, the first hour, it's tough when you, in essence, have nothing to play for, and what you're doing is you're trying to prevent the other team from doing something. And so, yeah, it is tough. Mr. Matrix, where Aruju dispossessed at a really high rate yesterday, I think that's because he was trying to create. Rack don't want to move on from Luis. He's got to do something in the offseason to get the shooting under control. It's gotten to that place where he's so desperate, he's just messing himself up. And we've made this point also, Rack, on the show, where we think that Luis sometimes is trying too hard, because if you look around you and you want so I'm not going to use that word, but if you are so intent on having your team succeed and you're not seeing it around you, then, you're going to try that much harder sometimes, and you're going to try to will everyone forward and grab them by the scruff of the neck collectively and work their way forward with you. And so sometimes I think that when you have guys like Luis, and we see it in a bunch of other teams, and you think about your favorite team outside of the sport of soccer, and there are those moments where the guys work their way forward, and it's like you want to try to. There's always that guy that wants to will the team forward, put the team on his back, those kinds of things. I think you see that with Luis, and I think there are times when he does try too hard, but once again, you have inside of you that mindset of wanting to succeed, and you're going to do whatever it takes to do that. And sometimes you take too much on yourself, I feel. But I think that I would rather have a guy like that than not. And, once again, I'll go back to Luis as a stand-up guy yesterday, the way that he was, and standing up and answering questions and all that kind of stuff. So, I'd love to have Luis back for another full season because he seems to understand what they're asking of him. But yeah, I know that we talked about Miguel Almiron and 17-18 and the comparisons to Luis and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's a live chicken, so we'll get into that and we'll see. So that's where we are with Luis. Yeah, Luis did praise Pineda and the coaching staff. Good to hear. Let's see. I'm trying to see what else is going on. Nix feels that LAFC's front office has put ours to shame since 2018. What have they won? LAFC hadn't won a thing. Yeah, you can spend all the money in the world like LAFC and work your way around the AM budgets. But last time I checked, they still don't have a star on their chest. Still don't. So it hasn't been working in the grand scheme of things because, and I will anticipate I will anticipate once again in this playoff cycle, Nix, I will anticipate this. Teams that are overtly physical with LAFC will frustrate them. I mean, all you got to do is frustrate Vela and knock him off his pins and get him all fired up. You can knock him off his game because we've seen it happen. I do not anticipate LAFC getting out of the West. I don't. I think something's going to happen. I don't think LAFC gets out of the West. And all of that money that they will have invested will go absolutely by the wayside one more time. You brought in Chiellini. Chiellini, for me, is not someone that can give you 90 minutes consistently at the age of 37, 38. And we've seen it. They've had to manage his minutes coming out of the blocks. And there have been times also where he has been that last line of defense going up against other talent in Major League Soccer that is far younger and faster. And he's had to do like the Karch Kurai Steve Timmins thing. And, you should have gotten a red, for doing stuff like that. And I don't, it's great to have him at the back, but I think that, and, Bam can answer this question also, being an LAFC fan. I think loaning out Mamadou Fall was not something that they needed to do just because you've got Chiellini. I think that Fall could have learned from Chiellini, and the injuries that you have at the back line, I think may end up costing you there. But no, I don't see LAFC winning it. I really don't. Gareth Bale and Carlos Vela on the pitch at the same time has proved that it doesn't mix. It's oil and water or vinegar and water, whatever you want to do. It's not oil and vinegar. It's not that by any stretch of the imagination. I think that LAFC, if someone is very physical with them, but I'll say it right here. My predictions are usually 100% wrong, but I will say it right here. I do not anticipate LAFC making their way out of the West. I think Montreal gets out of the East. So I'll say anybody but LAFC and Montreal in your final. That's what I'm looking at for MLS Cup. Let's see. Nick's disappointing Joseph didn't talk considering the circumstances. Absolutely. Let's see. David going back and forth with Emilio. I think Guzan, Parkhurst, Escobar, LGP types held the team more accountable on pitching and practice. Guzan and Parkhurst definitely. Guzan's yelping used to annoy me. I often thought LGP and Escobar were over the top with Annex, but I think we missed the edge on defense. Ozzie Alonso also brought that. Yeah. If you didn't have Ozzie Alonso out there, like I said, we mentioned that Ozzie, with the team starting with Ozzie, they were 3-1-1 in those first 5 games. And then if you end up with all the injuries and you go from there. You didn't have Brad at the back, and you had Ozzie injured. You didn't have Miles's control either. And so you get to see that edge, and having a guy that is as talented as Miles Robinson at the back line to help you out, no doubt about it. Also, there's the discussion about baseball. Shiva, like I said, right there with you. I think Montreal has a chance to take it all. Let's see. Oh, Knicks, important point also. Also here, along with the match, mourning the loss of Lot 17. Where will I drink and do stupid things before the match? People are asking. That will be part of the discussion next season. But one thing that I saw yesterday that I thought was very, very cool, and with you guys that are a part of our family here, the fact that you guys took pictures one more time in Lot 17 as a group, I thought it was really cool. And to see that pop up on my timeline with all of you once again, I thought it was very, very cool to see that you guys that you continue to embrace that family aspect and that family atmosphere that we've seen and that we've graciously been a part of over these last 6+ years. But yeah, it was great for me to see all the photos with Nix and Abby and everybody there. It was great to see that kind of stuff. And no, I don't know what the plan is. But once again, it was great to see all those photos out of Lot 17 yesterday. And so, Nix, I'm sure they'll have some kind of a plan to figure out where you're going to be. And then looking forward to seeing where everybody lines up next season, considering that they're going to be renovating the Gulch and building, I think, something fairly shiny there. So we'll see what happens and how long it takes. And I'm sure it'll add to the lovely traffic problems that we see. But that's just me. But once again, that's just my tip of the hat to y'all when it comes to everything that we're seeing in with the fan base here with the 17s. No, Rack, they can't have Andrew Gutman. Absolutely not. I'm fairly certain that the front office, in whatever form it will be, will hang on to Andrew Gutman as much as possible. And Shiva, it will be an ongoing conversation. Who stays and who leaves? Yeah, I mean, there are questions out there. We've talked about it this morning. We'll continue to talk about it as things continue to go. When teams make their other moves, when other teams make their other moves, we can throw those names into the discussion as well. But the biggest question is, would they fit? That to me is the larger element in all of this. These individuals that we talk about, would they fit from these other teams once these clubs make their announcements when it comes to who is staying and who is going and who will be available for the rest of the planet. But no, we'll absolutely be talking about stays and goes, and that was just part of it. Rack in this morning once again, referring getting back Alonso's surprise, like I with Ozzie Alonso. I think, like I said, he's not going to be there. I don't think he's for a double negative. Wow, John, take 2. I don't think Ozzie Alonso is going to be there from the beginning. I don't think Miles is going to be there from the beginning. I don't think Brad is going to be there from the beginning. So I will take an out of the bullpen Ozzie Alonso when he's ready for those 20 and 30 minutes every once in a while. That I think can be managed with Ozzie Alonso coming off of surgery. So I think that will be a part of the discussion for me anyway, is how he integrates. How is he doing? I think that you give him every opportunity to try to figure out his spot with Atlanta United, because he was brought in for that sandpaper. We saw it. It was in a starting role, but we saw it. And now I think that out of necessity and recovery, whenever that happens, you will see the role that it was anticipated for Ozzie Alonso when it comes to him being a part of things in 2023. So we'll see what happens there with Ozzie Alonso. Don't know how many lots, Rich. That is a Knicks question. I do not know how many lots. And that lot 17 is the one that's in the Gulch, literally where Mercedes-Benz Stadium is. You go across the street and down into a hole. That's why they call it the Gulch, or the Railroad Gulch, from the old days of Terminus when it was a railroad hub. Basically, down across the street and down into a parking lot. That's where Lot 17 is. And Emilio, they need to be looking at midfield, but to what extent, we will see. And how many does it go? Obviously, when Jarrett discussed the idea of Hasechu and Heineman, I think that those are the two that you might be looking at because of the salary for Heineman and fit for Hasechu. So we'll see what happens there. But for me, let me look at FBref and get the numbers for Matheus Hasechu. I mean, Matheus was a very, very good metronome in the middle, that calming force that you were looking for when it came to having Hasechu there to be that fulcrum to help you pass. Let me get the numbers here. Passing, top 10% in passes attempted, top 4% in completion rate at 91%, top third in progressive passes, top 10% basically in progressive carries, top quarter in dribbles completed, and the top half in progressive passes received, top 2/3 in the country, top third in clearances defensively. So he helped you out defensively as well. But as that metronome in the middle, those numbers for Matheus Hasechu, anywhere from top third to top 4% when it comes to what he was able to give you offensively on the year to help you out when it comes to getting everything from the midfield up to the forward line. Let's see. Curious, and I think that the Arachnus is also something that we keep an eye on too. Curious about Miles and Purata and how they would pair. Yeah, and I mean, next year you have a back line that could consist of, in various forms, Wiley, Gutman, Miles when he's healthy, Purata, Hernandez, Brooks Lennon at the right. And that's just scratching the surface. I mean, you probably have Noah Cobb that's a part of the discussion, maybe Aiden McFadden on the right-hand side, maybe Aiden plays a little further up in training camp, who knows. But it's something to look at. There's going to have a lot of folks at the back next year that you're going to be looking at. Let's see. Emilio, don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, it once again, it also depends on who you bring in. Emilio's asking, excuses to form discontinue. I think it depends on the other pieces that are going to be there with you in the midfield and forward. So we'll see what goes down. Wiley, didn't know why Hasechu had the armband yesterday. He's had it in the past, and he has been that. He has been that calm presence that gets to go up and discuss things with the official. In this case, it was Chris Penso. And I'm still trying to figure out why the one yellow was given when your Atlanta United player didn't touch. I think it was Maxi Morales, but there was that ghost yellow yesterday that drove me nuts. We looked at the replay and we slowed it down and we jogged it back and forth. And I'd love to know where the contact was on that one ghost yellow. Would really know why. But Matheus has had it before. Wiley, and he's been, like I said, he's been a guy that wore the armband previously this year, so that wasn't necessarily a surprise. And Wiley, when it talks about Mosqueda, I still think that when you brought Mosqueda in on loan, he's still trying to get integrated. First little while when he was brought in, it's just like, dude, go run and tire the defense for 10 or 20 minutes. And now it's just been getting to the point to where he's progressing. And so very, very raw talent, very, very incredibly quick. And you're seeing those pieces of brilliance with Mosqueda, but once again, still trying to integrate. And he was unfortunately integrating toward the tail end of a season. So a lot of different stuff. Let's see. Rack's asking about striker. Jarrett, we picked up on that. Cisneros is a question. I don't think he's the guy who starts. Dom is a question. Does he want to be closer to home? And then obviously the question involving Joseph, if Joseph here, is he not? And then we'll keep an eye on that one as well. Rack wants to see Wiley get more minutes. And yeah, I mean, Caleb showed his growth and progression this season, and it was really fun to see, considering that Jason and Jarrett and I got to see him with Atlanta United too, and everybody who came up to the Fraction got to see him there as well. I think that, and once again, just remember, here's a kid who is, let's see, how old? 17, 18. I want to get it right. Caleb Wiley is in the top category, 17 years, 292 days old. And Caleb's numbers, by the way, 26 matches played, 18 starts, goal and assist. He got the goal against Kansas City. And here's Caleb's numbers. Caleb's numbers have a lot of green in them when you go to our friends at FBref. And this is, like I said, this is percentiles and, just per 90 minutes, take it for what it is, but it's just progress. I'll go to his defensive numbers and not his offensive numbers. Defensive numbers, top quarter in progressive carries, top 20% in dribbles completed, top 2% in touches, 98th percentile, and top 10% progressive passes received, top quarter in tackles in the league in the time that he was out there. Also, top 30% in blocks as well. So there's a lot of green per 90 minutes for Caleb Wiley out there, and it was fun to see him continue to grow. And Rack, yeah, the Jackson Conway discussion is going to be a part of it when it comes to striker. And can Jackson get his game consistently up to that next level so he can be a part of the first team discussion consistently? Rack looking at Vasquez, wondering how many more strikers we're going to send elsewhere because of the shadow of Joseph. Vasquez was a numbers game. It wasn't under the shadow of Joseph, and Brandon Vasquez has been unlocked when he's been to Cincinnati, but it was a numbers game, and it's who are you going to protect and who are you not going to protect in an expansion draft. And it ended up that Brandon was a part of that. And Brandon, while yes, he was Open Cup hero Brandon Vasquez, his inconsistency played into that as well at the time. So that was strictly a numbers game about who you could protect, who you needed to protect. And Brandon, unfortunately, for fans of Brandon Vasquez, was just one of the guys that you couldn't protect at the time. And yeah, you can't replace a DP with a kid unless that kid is amazing and has already reps with his national team and those kinds of things. Rack. So, yeah, and that's the thing is if you get a new DP, you might have to send Jackson to a place where he could play. Like I said, Aberdeen's coming in next month. Well, keep an eye on that. Well, and Emilio, you say that, and what I would posit in return is, I like to give things context and just add to the depth of a discussion. So I want to try to present as much information as possible when it comes to what we see, what I see, and what you see as well. And that's why we have this discourse. That's why we have all of this talk back and forth every single morning. I mean, like I said, some folks may refer to it as excuses. I like to try to give as much information as possible when presenting a case. So, like I said, we will always agree to disagree, and that's completely and totally cool. Home record last year, 9-3-5, 8-4-5, almost identical. Winning on the road is hard, but we did it last year. No excuses. And I'm sure that if you ask the players, they would say the same thing. Wiley been without the right guy who has game sense and leadership ability to put in a hard challenge at the right time since 19. Maybe Ozzie could have done it, but you can't hang out on one guy. But no, I think that Ozzie could be a part of that discussion. And you mentioned Larry and LGP in the past. So, yeah, I mean, you've got to have that sandpaper that's there as well. I think Purata gives you that sandpaper. I think Alan Franco gives you that sandpaper. And Ozzie was there to give you that veteran influence away from everything else. So, yes, Ozzie could be a part of the sandpaper, but I think that you have guys who could learn from Ozzie about refining their sandpaper, so to speak. Yeah, and let's see. So What else is going on your minds this year? Let's see. Knicks. Yes, Chiellini and Baylor stunt casting much closer to a cup than us at this point. Well, yeah, they're in the playoffs. That's why I said since 18. But yeah, like I said, it is stunt casting, Knicks. You're spot on. And you look at teams that want to take full advantage of the rules, and with LA and bringing in Ricky Puig, and I want to see what that deal. Was constructed to be. Really paying him low now, and then turning him into an AM player later on. You know that Bale isn't going to be an AM player forever. Is Chiellini this year and done, just to try to bring in a title and go out, or does he fulfill the other year? I think he signed an 18-month deal, so that will be the interesting part for me. So, we'll see. Hang on just a second. Sorry about that. That's what happens when I don't drink enough water. Let's see. Let's see as we continue to go forward here. Well, Wiley, I'll say this to the creators. How about that? To the creators, not forwards. To Aruju, to Almada, and to everybody to continue to progress it forward. How about that? All right. Let's see. David, once again. Yes, no question. It would help the dialogue if we knew cap hits and salary like football and hockey. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to see it. Absolutely. Would love to see it. And when you don't have this kind of transparency, it doesn't do you any good for the younger fans, and I mean that in the level of experience, not age. For those fans trying to learn the game, trying to learn your league, and trying to learn what you're all about, if you don't have transparency about salary structure, and yes, I know the MLSPA has come out and done things, and they've produced lists and things like that, but if you don't have the full picture from the league, then it creates itself as a stumbling block of wanting to learn about the league in and of itself, and trying to understand how is it that LA was able to bring in Ricky Puig. What's the dynamics of the deal that are associated with Chiellini and Bale in Los Angeles? What's it like, for Houston on the books when you bring in an Ache? What's it like for Seattle? How do you fit in Albert Rusnak? When you have all of these different questions that are out there, if you're trying to learn about a team or your team, if you're a new fan, how do you get this information? And I think that to me is a big element in all of this. But David, you are spot on about the transparency. Mulroney was at the time a numbers game. And once again, he was not playing. And so if you could get resources for him, then that was the move that needed to be made by Atlanta United at the time. Do I like the move if net game received difference in salary results in us having a free backup? Certainly MLS needs to help a fan out here. And yeah, the MLS does need to help out a fan. I'm for as much transparency as possible. I know the PA does their part, but I want to know all of the salary machinations, all of the salary stuff, all of that, so I can be more educated. So we all can be more educated. So that's right there what I'm looking at, I'm with you. We need more transparency when it comes to everything, and I mean everything involving the salary structure, especially if this notion of this fourth DP comes to the fore. I want to get the facts right on this. Get the dynamics squared away, because it was something that was laid into the possibility of adding DPs. I mean, as far back as 2015, the question was, do we add a fourth DP spot in Major League Soccer exclusively for an American team? So 2020, you're looking at the same discussion, but now because of the new TV deal, do you bring in that fourth DP? I think you need to. And I honestly also think that you need to take the restraints off of your spending. If a team wants to invest, let them invest. If a team wants to go through their academy to do things like a Dallas, like a Philly, like an Atlanta at times, not to the extent of a Philadelphia, like a Seattle does, then let them do it. Let them do it that way as part of their deal. But if they also want to spend $11 billion and bring in somebody from overseas, they ought to be able to do it. I think that you're probably going to add that fourth DP sooner rather than later. And I think that'll happen before the salary structure is moved around. So, no, I'm right there with you. I think that, first off, we need more transparency. And I think we need that fourth DP. And I think that you need to remove the chains off of the salary structure. I really do. I think that do the teams have salary transparency that you know of? Yeah, I think that no, I think that the teams themselves know what the layout is, because you can make these contacts with the league. I said, this is what I think. I have no concrete evidence of this, but I would anticipate that teams have they work within the framework of the league in and of itself. Ernst Tanner, though, let me see if I can get the quote. When Ernst Tanner saw Gareth Bale sign, let me get the quote on it, because he lit into that whole idea. Yeah, because the suspicion over the deal. Here's how it was with Bale signing. So this is Stejskal back on July 15th. When Ernst Tanner went public with a pretty dramatic insinuation about LAFC's recent signing of star winger Gareth Bale. LAFC inked the 33-year-old to a 1-year TAM contract. Exact salary isn't known publicly, but the fact that he was signed using TAM means his pay will be capped around $1.7 million during the guaranteed portion of his deal. Acquiring him on TAM preserves the third and final designated roster spot. Bale might not be a TAM player permanently in Los Angeles. According to Tenorio and Slater, contract also includes an 18-month option. If triggered, would increase his salary, make him a DP from the middle of the 23 season through the end of 24. That's where the juggling from Carlos Vela came into play. For Tanner, the idea that Bale, who was reportedly paid $35 million last season by Real Madrid, would leave the richer European markets for a roughly $1.7 million annual salary with LAFC stretched the limits of credulity. The club's earlier edition of Chiellini on a TAM deal only added to his skepticism. Tanner, I feel fooled, he told Kicker. This is Tanner. Especially as they were signed as TAM players in the middle of the season who can only make $1.6 million. That takes some believing. Innocent until proven guilty, of course, but Bale made $35 million before tax playing for Real Madrid, could have earned many times more in England than his official salary here. Why is he giving up so much? I don't think the market in Europe is that damaged. Tanner didn't explicitly say he thinks LAFC is hiding something in regards to Bale, but his implication was clear enough, an incredibly serious one too, not just because it came from one of the better sporting directors in the league. And then Stejskal goes into the whole Miami bit. Tanner issued an earlier statement to ESPN, said several parts of the various quotes were not in response to the questions, printed, not represented in the manner I intended. So Tanner says he's been taken out of context back in June or July. So maybe it's something gentlemanly about it, but I would anticipate that as I think about this, and I'm trying to think it through, I think you have an idea, David, about where spending is. And to the point that Sam Stejskal made, if you sign somebody to AM, that means that they're locked into that space. You're locked into that figure. If a team obviously does something clandestine, like Inter Miami did with the 4 DPs, even though they weren't really DPs, and it turned out that they really were DPs, all 4 of them. You're under the assumption that players are signed to deals that are of X value. And so, Bernd was, exactly. Ernst Tanner was just saying what everybody else was thinking, no lie. I think, David, you operate under the assumption that if it's an AM deal, that they're locked into certain salary metrics. Therefore, you look at, okay, all right, this guy's here, and this guy's here. So you have other folks that kind of in your front office that monitor these kinds of things. So I think that you have a good idea. But then Ernst Tanner saying what he says, obviously you raise an eyebrow to that. Oh, he really signed to that kind of a deal? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So I think you have a good ballpark figure, and you're having a bunch of capologists just do math. So I might have just talked myself out of one answer and given you another one, and I apologize for that. But the more that I thought it through, I think you're operating under the idea that, okay, DP equals X plus salary. And then if he's an AM guy that you think really should be a DP, then he's like 1.6, 1.7. And then you wonder, okay, why is he only 1.7 when he's this guy? So that's where I'm coming from here. I would say generally, yes, they should have an idea, David. But, if there's anything else that's attached to it, personal service contract, what have you, it might be outside the purview of MLS and that they wouldn't necessarily have a full handle on. Uncle, I imagine that you're going to have some kind of a postmortem sometime soon. I don't know when that is yet, but I would imagine that you are. Once again, as we kind of keep an eye on everything else. Okay, so let me go through the rest of the day and let you know what is going on here, story-wise, gossip-wise, what have you. Tomorrow we'll get into Major League Soccer more, and Caleb Porter in Columbus. Is Caleb Porter's job in jeopardy after what happened yesterday? Oscar Pareja in, Caleb Porter out in a game where a lot of folks were just kind of sitting there saying maybe both of you could go. But, yeah, so does Caleb Porter's future in question when it comes to everything going on with Columbus, considering what didn't happen yesterday. We'll get into that. So gossip before we go, and we'll get into that after what happened on the weekend. Chelsea looking at Villarreal Spain midfielder Yeremy Pino, 19, as a contingency plan for Mason Mount as he heads into the final 20 months of his deal. Roma's Pellegrini is another option. That's according to the Telegraph. Inter Milan set to launch another bid to tempt Nathan Ake away from Manchester City. That's from Efkren Konur on Twitter. Arsenal shown an interest in Club Brugge Spanish forward Ferran Jutgla, who's 23. That's from Toto Fichajes. Chelsea also set to discuss Denis Zakaria's situation with the club, with the 25-year-old Swiss midfielder failing to feature under Graham Potter. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Barca considering a move for Wolves of Ruben Neves, as their hopes of signing Martin Zubimendi appear to be over after Zubimendi's agreed to a new deal with Real Sociedad. Antoine Griezmann completed a permanent move from Barca to Atletico Madrid. Barca set to save €36 million in wages with the sale of Griezmann. That comes from Marca. Liverpool looked to sign Rennes and Belgium forward Jeremy Doku in January. Manchester United could see their hopes of signing Mexican winger Chucky Lozano from Napoli ended by Liverpool's pursuit of Rennes 20-year-old Belgian forward Doku. Napoli would be keen to move for Doku should Lozano leave the club. Wolves may have to wait a little longer to make Julian Lopetegui their manager as he attends to a family matter in his homeland. AC Milan considering signing Hakim Ziyech in January. That's from Tuta Mercato Web. Several European clubs monitoring Gio Reyna. That's from Calcio Mercato. Arsenal scouts impressed by Real Madrid's Uruguayan Federico Valverde after initially traveling to watch Shakhtar Donetsk Mikhailo Mudryk in their Champions League meeting. Jurgen Klopp says it doesn't look good for Trent Alexander-Arnold and Luis Diaz when it comes to their injuries. And Gareth Southgate says he wants to see out his England contract until it expires in 2024. So that's your gossip, rumor, and innuendo from across the pond. David, Porter's current team and former team both fall out of the playoffs in decision day. Hashtag irony alert. You're not wrong. Let's see. No, that was not what I wanted to look at. So this is what happens when you're dealing with all these tabs that are open all at once. Okay. Action today. Right now, once again, it is lower divisions, East Asia, North Africa, Middle East. Reserve leagues going on through the rest of the morning. And interesting friendly in women's soccer at 12:30. Italy and Brazil. Brazil's a minus 147. Italy's a plus 313. Also, getting into the early afternoon, you've got Super League in Turkey. Trabzonspor, Başakşehir, both favorites at home. Primera Nacional in Argentina has afternoon kicks. Premier League 2 is going on. Well, those are the lower division clubs. Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa is your Friday night football or Monday night football. Nottingham Forest a plus 276 at home. Draws a plus 260. Villa's a plus 104. Elche and Mallorca in La Liga at 3. Elche a plus 200. Mallorca's a plus 164. Your draws a plus 206. Liga Profesional de Football in Argentina. Argentinos Juniors a favorite at home against Huracan. Defensa y Justicia, big underdog on the road at Rosario Central. They are a plus 104. Those are 3:30 kicks Eastern time. Mexico and Chile, international friendly for women. That's at 5 o'clock. Mexico's a minus 200. Chile's a plus 465. Also, more Liga Profesional. You can catch this on Paramount Plus or Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Estudiantes, a home favorite against Lanús. Racing Club, a home favorite against Atletico Tucumán. Getting into the night action, Liga Profesional has one match at 8:30. Central Cordoba, plus 150 at home against Newell's at a plus 210. Colombia Primera, Petrolera, and Santa Fe. You could probably catch that on Nuestra Tele. Petrolera is a plus 154. Santa Fe is a plus 179. Alianza Lima and Deportivo Municipal are going at it at 9 o'clock. Lima is a big favorite at home at a minus 256. So that's your action today. Most of it sounds like it is on either Fanatis or Paramount Plus, so catch your action appropriately. Checking news before we go overseas, see if there's anything I missed in that regard. Like I said, tomorrow we'll probably catch up more about Major League Soccer and everything leading itself into Dylan Butler and his discussions that we have on Wednesdays. Cristiano Ronaldo scored goal 700 in the 2-1 win against Everton. So we're still waiting to see if the new owners pop up at Everton as well, and also waiting to see if Bill Foley's purchase of Bournemouth for £150 million is there. He was at the match this past weekend and watched their win from the box, and so he got to see his product first and foremost at the Vitality. Steve Bruce sacked at West Brom in the championship following a run of just one win in their opening 13 matches this season. Brighton midfielder Enoch Mwepu has been forced to retire after being diagnosed with a hereditary heart condition at the age of 24. Going through the other papers really quickly, skipping the 4-letter and the 3-letter papers. Daily Mirror, FA chief set to investigate a dust-up during Arsenal's dramatic win over Liverpool. Luis Diaz left on crutches wearing the knee brace. That was where that came from. Kylian Mbappe deleted an Instagram story after appearing to have a dig at PSG for the way he's currently being utilized at the club. Let's see. And then Scottish newspapers, Gio van Bronckhorst insists Rangers have to go for broke against Liverpool to keep their Euro dream alive. Not wrong. Stephen Welsh believes Celtic can make a home advantage count and finally kickstart their Champions League campaign with RB Leipzig and Shakhtar Donetsk visiting Glasgow in their next 2 European matches. Yeah, well, and Uncle, to your point, and thank you, Shiva. This is going to be a topic, obviously, that will set all of the other dominoes in place. The president probably, and this is just thinking about other sports. Once again, I have no basis in fact here. Probably MLS Cup week. Like I said, I have no basis or background, but just thinking about it in other sports. You know, if you're hiring a head coach in the National Football League, Super Bowl week. If you're hiring a head coach or you have an ownership change or something like that in a sport, it's always the week of that championship game, NBA Finals, somewhere in there, because you want to make your splash in there as well. And Atlanta United is having all these discussions behind closed doors. No clue on who is being considered. No clue as who is being discussed. But look at MLS week as MLS Cup week to determine who might be taking over, because you have MLS Cup week, then you've got a little bit of time. You've got World Cup where you can look at talent. You've got the holiday season. Then you've got the January window. Then you're in training camp. Then the season starts. So like I said, literally, as we're talking about stuff here on October the 10th, 4 months from now isn't that far away. And especially with holidays and tournaments and things like that. So, so I would guess president would be MLS Cup week. That's, like I said, that's just my gut as to how things go in other sports. Like I said, I have no basis in fact for that as a deadline, but that's just extrapolating from other sports and other timelines and things like that and seeing something like that. So, so look in December. Wow, no, MLS Cup is November because of the World Cup. So, like I said, that's my gut feeling. Like I said, I have no basis in fact, but that's just how it has transpired in other sports, and so we'll keep an eye on that. So tomorrow, like I said, we're chasing guests, and like I said, I think I need to remind Bart Keeler about his visit at 9:30, so that way we can discuss women's national team and anything else on Bart's mind because of their match at 2:00 tomorrow afternoon against Spain. Will it happen? And how will it look with all the turnover and all the turmoil that's going on currently with the Spanish women's national team? 4 months is right around the corner, Uncle. Quality players in, have time to build chemistry right there. Like I said, chasing guests, probably Bart Keeler tomorrow at 9:30 to talk women's national team and anything else on Bart's mind. Wednesday, Dylan Butler. Tomorrow is Prem and Proper, USL Championship programming. Later today, don't be surprised if there's a Tues review out there on the network to work our way forward and see what other stuff is going on. Obviously, we'll keep you posted every single day when it comes to the world of soccer. Thanks to everybody who's hanging out with us here live on Twitch, and then catches the show later on when we break things down on your favorite podcatchers. And don't forget to download the Soccer Down Here app, available iOS and Android. And yes, I'm talking quickly because I'm trying not to take one more sip of Mountain Dew before the show ends. So that'll be a show, and we'll come back tomorrow. We'll do it all over again. And once again, thanks to all of you guys for coming here on a daily basis and hanging out with me and Jarrett, and having the blast that we do every single day, because we couldn't do it without you guys, and it's great to be with you. So mucho platial, and since it's the end of the show, that means I get to do this.